I'm on a ladder hanging this last banner, and I'm like, are people going to show up? Like, we had that moment where we're like, wait a minute. Is
Like,
anyone going to
oh
show
crap.
up to this thing? I think I went to the bar to get a tequila shot, and I turned around, and there was just a line. Lamborghini, Scott, Kentucky
Scott.
Ballistic rented a Lamborghini. Jerry Michalak walked, and I'm like, holy,
It worked.
this
It's
worked.
working.
Welcome back to Whiskey and Windage, the two-way podcast for the people, by the people. I'm your host, Adam, joined with my co-hosts, Mike and Matt. Gentlemen, how are we doing today?
Man, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. It's a great day. This was I don't want to say a last second podcast, but it was definitely a podcast we put together at the last second because we're trying to get this information out sooner than later. But yeah, it's going to be a good show. I'm excited for it.
Matt, what you got?
Dude, I'm super excited. It's a cool show, cool company that, honestly, the public doesn't get to hear enough about all the things that they do for our Second Amendment community. We don't have a real big platform for them, but I'm glad that we've got a small stage to help them out, get their name out there, shed just a little bit of light on some of the stuff that they do in the background. So,
well, Mike, without no further ado, Mike, who do we have on today?
Yeah, so you guys remember Will that we met from the GOA event from Forge Relations?
Yep.
oh yeah, at the bar.
Yeah, him and
Upstairs. Yeah,
him and his co-owner Ben. They founded a company called Forge Relations. It is a media and marketing company. Currently, I'm not sure what else they do. Well, I know they're a party planner, but I'll get into that in a second. But I don't know what else they do as far as media and marketing when it comes to their clients. But like I said just a second ago, the party planning, and I say that jokingly, they helped put on the Goals event. They were assisting on that one, and they are responsible for the Gundies. So
creators of it.
yeah, and I think the Gundies catches a little heat every now and then, just because it's unfamiliarity and it's easy to poke fun. But I mean, at the same time, these guys haven't been fazed by any of it, and they're pushing forwards, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year. So I'm excited to hear about it. Are they loaded in yet?
Yep, it looks like they're about ready to go. So, Matt, what time is it?
Baby. Let's go.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
For our 2A segment, we are excited to be joined by co-owners of a company you may have heard of, may not have heard of, but Forge Relations. We've got Will and Ben. Guys, how is it going today?
Very
Going
good.
great.
Very good.
Great.
Thank you guys for having us. Really appreciate
Yeah.
it. Excited to be on.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely.
being here, man. This is awesome.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah, and we say you may not have heard of because the majority of what you guys do is in the background.
Yeah.
It's kind of fair to say. Why don't you guys talk a little bit about what you guys do at Forge Relations?
Yeah,
Sure.
absolutely. I can kick it off a little bit. So, at this point in 2024, because Forge Relations has evolved tremendously over the years, we are a full marketing agency. So we do everything from content production, distribution, management, event management. So with that, over the years, it's been going on, been 7 years now, 8 years?
Started in 2017. Yeah, so we're coming up on 8 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
On 8 years. It definitely evolved tremendously. It actually started as a procurement company. So quick little backstory. I owned a gym at the time, and I was in the process of actually selling my gym when I met Ben. I believe. Yeah, I was in the process of selling my gym when I met Ben. And I had a lot of really good connections, being a gym owner, being very tied into the community of South Carolina and Myrtle Beach. And then I also, at that time, I really was heavy into 3-gun shooting, competition shooting. So I had a lot of guys on the SWAT team, county police, and me and Ben just started hanging out, talking about Instagram and what he did, and I'll let him kind of get into that. We decided to see if we could start building and selling guns to the SWAT department, the SWAT team, and the county. So it really actually started as a procurement company, and then tremendously expanded from there. We realized procurement was not the area that we wanted to be in, but ironically, coming back to 2024, back into procurement. Um, on the side, a little side hustle. You have the whole, government contracts, cage code, all that good stuff, because there's a lot of opportunity out there. And really, the whole thing about Forge Relations is the connections and the networking. It's in our name. We're forging relationships. Our biggest thing is partnerships and relationships that are very long lasting. When we sign with the client, work with the client, we don't want to typically do that just a month, 2 months. We want to build a very long-term relationship that is valued, because at the end of the day, marketing is not instant gratification. There's no such thing as just coming in and saying, hey, we're going to do this and you guys are going to sell all this or get this type of branding. It's just not how it works. It's a long-term play, and understanding the brands that are involved and understanding the products, is the first part. And then obviously taking those things and going, okay, how are we going to distribute them? What type of content are we going to make that's going to really have the audience, relate to that and go, this is what I want. So then when you do that, and it's like, okay, cool, we just did this whole video production. We have all these reels and long format videos and photos. Okay, well, now what? The next step is the distribution aspect. How are we going to do it? Is it a product launch? Is it a product update? What platforms are they going to be going on? Are you posting at the right time? So then understanding all the analytics on the platforms, and that's kind of how we kept developing. So we really took our craft and honed in on each one of those departments, from the production to the distribution to the product launches, the actual creation, the graphic design, strategy. And that's what I think really is one of the things that has set us apart, is that we are that turnkey operation. And then clients will come to us and say, hey, we have a product launch, but we want to throw a little party, or we want to have a range day. And we're like, oh, well, we do that too. And that experience started 7 years ago by doing these little marketing retreats we started with 2 companies and 4 creators, and we rented a house for the weekend. And, we took those, trial and errors and mistakes, because our first one, I think our profit margin was like $300, and we lost it because somebody stole a Yeti cooler. So we went negative for $300.
Yeah. I remember being heartbroken, and we borrowed it. We borrowed it from a friend of his, and we had to pay her back.
It was wild, and our budget was like $5,000. We're like,
no,
wow,
not even. I think we raised $3,000, and that was a massive deal for us. Yeah.
Yeah, we're like, this is the best thing ever. This is, because this is right when Instagram started, right? This is in the beginning days when people were like, no, we want to advertise on magazines, and we want to try to find a TV commercial that will still allow us. So convincing C-suite and convincing owners of companies are like, hey, this is where it's going. This is where the industry is going. And the thing is, right, we're not reinventing the wheel, because all we're doing is following with every other industry. It's just unfortunate that the 2A space and the firearm space is typically behind a little bit. So we have to kind of catch everybody up. And then you had that craze of influencers and content creators back in the day where there was no structure. There was no contracts. People were getting sent guns or sent this, and they wouldn't do anything for it, or then vice versa. There was no real contractual obligations between the companies and the creators, because really creators are their own distribution. They're their own magazine. They're their own digital magazine. So no matter what, if it's money or product, there's still contractual obligation to that. So we stepped into that aspect, started focusing on that road also, and keep honing that skill. So every little bit, started really evolving to our first camera. It was like a point and shoot thing that it would make a noise when you go zoom in and out. It was like, we're listening to the footage, and I'm like, uh-oh, this isn't.
Yeah, you could hear the zoom.
Yeah. And
mechanical zoom
stuff we're using.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, it's
yeah.
And it's just, we got some really good breaks in the beginning. We worked with Gun Digest, and that's when they took over Recoil. So we were able to take some older brands. I remember one of our first clients was Kimber. That was really cool to start bringing some just, iconic brands in our industry to this different era. a publication that's been around for 100 years, Gun Digest, to say, hey, we need a digital presence. So we were really fortunate to be, we did a TV show with them called Modern Shooter. That's when we started traveling, and realizing the fact that there were so many times when, especially myself, I'm much older than Ben. So I've kind of been through it. I've owned quite a few.
It looks that way.
You say much older. You make it sound so much worse than it is.
Here's some brownie points.
Yeah.
So, I just made those mistakes, and money was very, very tight for the first 5 years. It was a struggle, because not only were we fighting in an industry that didn't understand it, but also the restrictions that were starting with that. So the scale of advertising wasn't what it is in the car industry, the makeup industry, or the clothing industry, to where they were doing $1 million video shoot, and then we'd ask for $5,000, and they're like, oh no, that can't do that. So there was a lot of times where we didn't know what was going to really happen, but what I really learned is instead of throwing up 100 balls in the air and seeing which one sticks, is just throw up one and give it 110%. So that's my kind of little intro to Forge. I know Ben probably wants to go on some topics on that one.
I mean, you hit on most of them, right? I think the biggest thing for me is that learning curve as a newer company. I remember in the early days, Will was doing fences, and he had the gym, and he was doing all these other side projects, and I just remember having. It's probably I think it was in your kitchen. We had to make the decision, hey, is this going to continue, or are we just going to kind of try to half-ass this and turn it into something? And that was the decision where it's like, hey, okay, we're gonna go in 110%, and that's where things really started to change. The relationship component really is the biggest piece, because it's all about building relationships, and some of our biggest clients came from friendships that we built over 5, 6, 7 years. A lot of the reason we're able to do what we do, like with the Gundies, which we'll get into, is because of relationships. All of these larger creators are friends. They started as friends before they became business associates. And that is one of the few reasons I think we're able to do what we do. And that's we encourage anyone who's getting into the space, go to events. Go to every event you can afford. If you're a company, go to events, even if you don't have a booth, because that's how you meet people. That's how you'll build on these relationships. And, kind of coming full circle, Will had to pull that out of me. I'm definitely the quieter one of the duo. And I got my start in the space with an Instagram page called Guns Daily. I built that up to, I think it peaked at 1.8 million followers. I was never an influencer. Yeah, never wanted to be an influencer. The hashtag Guns Daily is probably still one of the most popular hashtags floating around. But it's, it's, that we both started in the industry in 2013. So we're going on 11, 12 years at this point. And it's, I guess, it's evolved. It's evolved tremendously across the board. And I think you have to. I think that's the only way you're going to be able to expand. And the industry has changed so much in that time frame.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, too, we're so yin and yang. We're so complete opposite, which really helped, because really the first 5 years, it was just Ben and I. We didn't have employees. I mean, I think our first employee was probably 3 years into the company, maybe.
Roughly, yeah. We had an intern.
Yeah. So
I heard you guys have the mom and dad dynamic.
Yes, 100%.
I'll let you guys figure out who's who, but yeah.
Well, there's definitely, I will admit, there's definitely when someone says no, employees go to the other one. So
yes. Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting though, because you guys, when you say you're at the kitchen table going all in, it's just our little podcast, there's so much that goes on with it, and we still work full-time jobs. So there's not enough time in the day to get everything done we want to do. And I imagine there are a lot of people way bigger than us that feel the exact same way, but it's you got to get to a point, just to be real honest, you got to get to a point to where you are monetized, to where you can pay someone like a Forge Relation to help you out and take it over, because If it was free, everybody give it to you. Like, hey man, grow me and then let's make some money. But it doesn't work that way. So I think you guys, I'm sure the beginnings, like when you first started, let me ask the question. Did you have to do some freelance, like some free work to show these guys what we can do? Because you always got to give a little bit away, because otherwise it's just so tough in this industry to say, hey, sponsor me. And they're like, well, what have you done? Have you ever met an
Prove
ad?
yourself.
Right.
Yeah, do something. So talk about that and how you guys, I guess, got the first big contract where you guys were like, holy shit, we got this.
Well, I'd love to take this one. I mean, that to a T, right? And that was for the longest time where we would, and still do, want to go above and beyond. But back then it was very much a necessity, where we were always constantly proving ourselves. We had to justify this whole marketing system, period. You know, it wasn't just like, hey, do you trust Ben and Will? It was, do you trust the concept of influencer marketing? Do you trust the concept of videos and photos and like this whole Instagram thing? It was a very much an uphill battle in that regard. And then a lot of what we do is not ROI driven. It's not a direct, you can track your dollars and show that you made XYZ on your spend. You know, it's not Google ads or anything like that. It's very much a brand awareness marketing strategy. And even still, there's companies that struggle with that mindset. We 100% are confident in what we do. We know that when we come to the table, we'll be able to provide value. But we're not always going to be able to say, you're going to pay us X and you're going to get, you know, this amount back for that marketing effort. Our biggest client for the longest time was because we were just building a relationship with them. We never tried to get money from them. We never tried to pitch them on our services. One day they came around and they were like, hey, we've got a project. We'd love you to put a quote in to take on this product launch for us. And, you know, we said yes, and we won it in the case. But it's not going to happen. I guess the point being is it's not going to happen overnight.
No, it doesn't. And Will and Ben, I love what you guys talked about the kitchen table, about that moment of, hey, are we doing this for real? Because we had that same kind of moment about 6 months ago. Like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this. Like, there's no turning back. Like, there's no, well, maybe in 6 months we'll reevaluate. No, like, we're all in. And I love that mentality, because like, it takes time and a grind, but if you're not all in, it's not going to happen. And I think you guys are a testimony to that. You bust your butts for all these years. And I mean, we're not going to talk about all your clients, but man, you guys are behind the scenes in a lot of stuff that people have no idea about.
And we try to keep it that way, you know, maybe to Will's chagrin a little bit, but there was also a moment, you know, I think it was right around when COVID hit, where we were like, hey, we just got to put our heads down, screw what everyone else is doing, more power to them. We just have to focus on providing the most value for the clients that we have. And that's how we've built the business. You know, we made mistakes early on where we would undercharge and we would try to overextend ourselves. And then we weren't making enough to be able to take care of ourselves and also follow through on what we're doing for client A. So then we had to go try to get client B. And we learned that pretty quickly it was not a winning strategy. So we made the shift to, first off, charging what we know we're worth. And that ultimately allowed us to make sure we're following through with what we're doing for our clients. Priority number one for us is the relationship, is the client, and a big part of that, which is always a struggle no matter who you are, is communication. You can solve almost any issue if you're willing to communicate and provide solutions. So that's, you know, that I think that's why we're at where we're at nowadays. I'm very proud of our growth. We don't have a sales team. We don't need a sales team. We're very selective. This might sound backwards, but we're very selective with the clients we bring on, because we want to make sure that we can provide them value and that is going to make sense. And you know, Will touched on this earlier, but a big part of what we do is that collaborative effort. So when we have one client and it makes sense to loop them into another project we got going on for another client, that's when we start seeing some substantial, you know, growth across the board.
Right. And one thing to kind of talk about what Ben said, or actually before what Adam said about behind the scenes, you know, at the end of the day, that's how it should be. We were hired by that company. When that content comes out, it's the company's content. We were hired to work for them. And when we do that, we are part of their team. You know, the creative
you don't
ideas.
shine unless they shine.
Right. Like this is all of our ideas together and it's for the product, for the company. We don't tag ourselves. I think that's not the right thing to do. Now it's very different when it comes to creators and stuff, but we're a company. This is a business to business transaction, and that business deserves 110% of that notoriety because it's their content and that creative side. And then to kind of focus what Ben said about our clients being selective, with that, it's very important for us to never be greedy. Meaning, in certain spaces, we would never, have a conflicting client to where there'd be any type of content ideas that both similar products could be using in the same way. I don't think that's right either. And that's where the relationship and the longevity comes from. And we're really part of that company. We always say when we sign on and it's ready to go, we are another office across the hall from your office. So when we're talking to the CFO or the owner or whoever it is, we are just as much part of your company as any other employee that you have, whether standing right next to you. So it's really important, that mentality, and it goes a long way, because at the end of the day, we can talk about it to you guys. Like, you guys know some of the clients, right? And that's okay. And the clients are happy about that. They want that to happen but publicly facing, it's not necessary. So the people that need, or the people that know, are the people, they should know. People that don't need to know, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
And that's what really helps the relationships and just really grow exponentially.
Dude, that's cool.
I think that's
I'm sorry, Matt. I'm saying military mindset. Like that's kind of where I kind of hear some stuff there a little bit, because I'm a military guy. Like the whole quiet professional keeps coming to my mind when I think about you guys. Like, you are the professional behind the scene doing it all, and I love that, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. That was going to be my touch point too. Is quiet professional, kind of the black ops of 2A marketing, and I mean. I honestly had no idea what the heck Forge Relations was until I cold messaged one of your clients and was answered by a member of your team. And then they were like, well, actually, I work for Forge Relations as a representative of this company. And that turned into us running into you guys at GOA. And it's been kind of a snowball. And it's really curious once you start to learn and dig around of all the spaces, all the events, all of the companies that Forge Relations is working with, and the projects that you're working on. It's really quite a vast network. And I mean, just round of applause for you guys, because the public face has no clue.
And they don't need to, right? They're not going to understand what we
do.
We want to be.
You're like an agent for a baseball player. I mean,
sure, yeah, exactly.
Certain big ones, but other than that, you don't really know one. You cross them in the street, you have no clue who they are, but they're making sure that their client gets the best deal possible and gets the most for their money.
Exactly.
Love that. But speaking, Matt, of GOA, it's funny you said that, because we were talking to one of your clients, and of course, I'll name drop the employee. So Chase was talking to us and said, hey, man, if you're going to GOA, I'm not going, but go look for my guys. And he sent me some names. I was like, all right, cool. We'll run into them, hopefully, and never saw anybody. So there we are sitting at a rooftop bar, and we had just moved inside from rain, and there's this 400-pound gorilla sitting across from me. And I'm like, who is this big dude? I should at least introduce myself. Like, hey, I'm Mike. What do you do? And he was like, hey, I'm Will, Forge Relations. And I'm like, what are the odds we're sitting at the same couch? Like, this is so weird. Like, you guys, not a lot of people know it, so I'll give you flowers. It's a collaborative effort. GOA has a lot to do with it. Also, I'm sure there's some city and Knoxville tourism people that you probably had to talk to in some way, shape, or form, or just the convention center itself, and months of scouting and all of that stuff. But man, you guys put the first annual GOA convention on in Knoxville, and I mean, it was amazing.
Thank you, first off. And we, GOA is an incredible partner, both for the industry as a whole, but also for us as a client, working with them on the podcast. And our relationship with them is, you say you need something, we'll get it done. right? Our contract does outline specific deliverables and responsibilities we have. The event was not one of those. We were originally brought on to handle the media outreach, the partnerships, the media badges, and their team, John and Kaylee, had spearheaded the event as a whole and did a phenomenal job. The level of stress is something we're very familiar with, but taking it to a whole nother level when you're doing it for the general public, for 200 plus vendors and nearly 10,000 people is a completely different ballgame than what we've done in the past. And we're there to jump in and support wherever we can. I'm just proud of the team that we brought out. We went nonstop for those 4 or 5 days, whatever it was, just making sure all the little details, all the things that fall through the cracks got taken care of. We had a fiasco with the hotels where we had 40 rooms booked in the hotels. The hotels then told us that we did not. So we made some call. This was 3 days before the event, a week maybe max.
So,
Yeah.
But I mean,
Made some calls, made it work, got it done. So there's the event side is fun too, just because this build up for months, stress levels right before the event. You're not sleeping. The event happens, and it's just this adrenaline dump. It's the best and worst feeling, all wrapped into one.
Yeah, we were the assist team to GOA. I mean, what they did, it was unbelievable. Like Ben said, Kaylee and John and their entire staff over there. We came in as that assist aspect, and just when I think I could say some motivation too, right? When things were really down, it's like, listen, this is part of it, right? It's gonna happen. Let's just fix it. We can either do two things, right? Give up on it, or this particular, this problem, it's not gonna go away. So let's deal with it and handle it right now. So it was a really cool experience, and it's just once again another client company that developed into great friendships. But it's all about relationships that really we're all very dedicated to it. No one, if something went bad on Ford, it's not that we turned around and said, you know what, doesn't look good. We're gonna go away now.
Right.
We're in it together. We're all in this.
Yeah, and I thought it was great because when we were leading up to it, we had talked to John. We had sent some messages to Eric Pratt. We had talked to Clint Morgan. We had talked to a bunch of people, and it was like, this is going to be so fun. We're going to go out there and hang out with all these people. And when we got there, we hung out with a whole different group of people because I don't envy. I know it was for a greater good and it was for GOA, but I do not envy any of those people.
No.
Watching what John literally walked around. I never saw him stop moving. Eric was doing Eric things. He was, shaking hands, kissing babies, and making sure everything was great. Clint, I don't even know if I think he slept on the stage. Like, I don't even know if he had a hotel room. Like, he could not, I don't even know if he could go to the bathroom. I mean, say it jokingly, but they put on probably the best show that they could have. And it was way better than some other shows that we've been to of that caliber. So
we were heavily involved in a multitude of aspects. I hit the show floor maybe twice the whole time, maybe 3 times, if that. And the last time was to make sure Brandon didn't get run over by a mob. But for a first year event, full stop, their team, frankly, had never done anything of this level before. They've done events on much smaller scales, a couple hundred people. For them to go from that to this and just jump in with both feet in the time frame that they did it, I remember they were in our office when they had the idea filming podcasts, and I was like, okay, cool. So that's gonna be like a 2025 thing. They're like, no, like this August, and you guys are insane. They pulled it together in 7 months, and right up until the end. If I had to. If I wasn't betting on myself, I would have said it would have been a big fumble. But they behind the scenes, the stuff you don't see about events is like obviously nearly 100% of what's actually going on. And they were doing so many things that we didn't even see to make sure things ran smoothly. And for a first year event, outside looking in, I think they did a phenomenal job.
They killed it. They sold us on it. We plan any year that they're back, and it's within striking distance of us. Like we're going. I mean, we've been motivated to. Now we don't want to be attendees. We want to find a way to be involved. So that's kind of what we're looking at, and it's going to be fun.
We're gonna rock with Goals event for sure, especially as a first year event. We're a first year podcast. We can grow with Goals, and it kind of become our definitely landing on the list of we show up every year, like a great cause to support. So wherever you guys had your hands in that, congrats on that. Everybody from that team needs a little pat on the back.
And I'll say one more thing about it. They learned from the lessons learned were many, and we had a 3-hour after action meeting, and they've already begun executing on making those changes. That's the biggest thing you can ask for. You're never gonna. Every event's always a cluster. As long as the attendees don't notice that you're doing great, and as long as you learn from your lessons and improve for next year, it's a winning team.
Oh, for sure. So
but you
speaking
guys,
of,
man. Go ahead, Adam.
No, I was saying, speaking of events, there's another event coming up soon that you guys are working on, right?
Yeah. I'll let Will take this one.
Yeah, the Gundies is coming up again, January 21st, I believe.
20th. Come on now.
Yep, January 20th. Well, listen, the dates have changed quite a bit over the years because this is going to be year number 6. So this is the 6th annual Gundie. And boy, let me tell you guys, it's been a long 6 years of doing this, and I know every year I see more grays come in. That's why I keep cutting my hair shorter so the grays go away. But the beard, I can't figure that one out yet. Yeah, I can't figure out how to do that.
Why the idea that let's start there? Why the idea for the Gundies?
Okay,
because we're stupid, because we're just like getting kicked in the balls a lot. I mean,
if you're gonna be dumb, you gotta be tough, I guess.
It was really. So remember, we have to go back 6 years. So look at the environment, look at the space that we were in 6 years ago. Yeah. And long story short, Ben and I, we were in digital creation. We're doing a lot of influencer management. And, the more we kept diving into it, everything was taken so seriously. You'd have guys that weren't encouraging new time shooters, or, if their finger was on the trigger, something off a little bit. Instead of supporting within, we always like to implode. And as an industry, we have so much outside hatred, from political to listen, it's endless. We can go anywhere. Every news station, guns. Any atrocity, any terrible thing that happens, instead of focusing on the real reason to why this happens, psychological issues, that's the hard stuff. But you can take a tangible item and say, oh, it's the gun. The gun did it. So we're going to take all of our energy and effort and blame that. So with that being said, we looked internally into our own industry, and we noticed that there was a lot of that going on internally, from different, from the 3-gun shooters to the, just the guys shooting YouTube, whatever the case may be. Everybody was kind of arguing with each other, and that's the last thing that we needed. So we wanted to come up with something that would just be, remember, this is year 1, fun, didn't really have much merit to anything, just kind of bring us all together. So take the entire industry and figure out how we could all join together and do something that didn't really necessarily make sense at the time, but just have a fun time getting together and networking. So my favorite TV show in the entire world that I've spent God knows how many years watching the seasons in repeat is The Office. So The Office, of course, has something called the Gundies. And Michael Scott is an amazing host of the Gundies, and it's just that, right? Like best white shoes, or the awards themselves really made no sense. It was just for his office after a stressful year to kind of have the office laugh and come together and join forces, right?
Right.
So that's where the Gundies came from, the Gundies. And we originally had 5 categories. Yeah, so that is where the conception of this entire event came from. So year 1, me and Ben sat down. I think at that point we had 2 employees. So it was the four of us, and then we knew if we were going to do an event, we had to hire like a part-time event coordinator, someone that used to work for me at my gym. You know, I brought them in for this, and we sat down and we kind of listed out these categories because we knew when we first called it, it was the Grammys for paper plates, right? It was very low key, jeans, t-shirts. Once again, you know, the Chili's. It was literally the Chili's of the Dundies. So we put together these categories, 10 categories, and we put together our little pitch deck. And then we looked at each other and went, how in the hell are we going to raise this money to do this party? And we're like, well, let's
For Las Vegas. It
for
was,
Las Vegas.
I mean, we
For
needed,
Las Vegas.
we can talk numbers back then. We needed 50 grand, we needed to raise 50 grand,
Yeah.
and we were asking sponsors for 5K each. And that was like the
5K.
most terrifying thing ever.
And
We
now,
just
mind you,
need
we
to
were
ask.
just making these numbers up. We didn't really. This was like a guesstimation of what we needed. And
Perfect.
I'll be honest, I will never forget the first phone call pitching this to someone, and it was Josh, who was with Brownells, and you know we developed a great relationship over the years. And I said, "Hey, Josh, we have an event we want to do. You know, can we send you over the deck?" He said, "Yeah, absolutely." So we called him. I'm like, "Josh, here's the deal," and he goes, "What?" And within like 5 minutes of after him saying what, he goes, "I love it. We're in." So I get off the phone with Ben. I'm like, dude, we got this. We got one guy. Everybody's going to love it. Well, let me tell you, the other 500 phone calls did not go the same by any which way, shape, or form. Everyone was like, this is so stupid. What are you guys doing? This makes no sense. And it was like probably 70-30, right? 70 was like, this is the weirdest thing ever. 30%, they got it. They could see it.
If they had seen The Office, we were already kind of on a different level. That was like the key. If they hadn't seen it, we kind of already lost the
Right, yeah,
battle.
because literally I had to use The Office, and I'm like, I'm going to be Michael Scott. I'm going to do this. And they're like, okay, I get it. So that kind of started there, and then we're like, well, shit, we need to build a website. We did all this. And then came the actual PR and the announcement. When we actually publicly announced it, man, the
What?
comments. Oh man, the 2A community was like, "You guys are morons."
You
Like,
might as well have said roast me.
yeah,
It happened. Oh,
I
yeah.
got roasted so much because we had that once again, we're a marketing firm, so we had to create content to hype this up. We literally recreated 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 skits from The Office that were relevant to the Dundies. So any Dundies episode that had a skit in it, we completely refilmed and did it with the Dundies. I mean, there's an episode, I have a bra on, I dress up as like 5 different characters. I'm Jim, I'm Kevin. So every character in this one
Pam
episode
would've
with
been
Michael
great.
Scott, it was unbelievable. That's the one with Will Ferrell. But
Yo, can we get this content in the DMs? Like after?
I'll have to dig it up. We posted it. I think it got taken down. It got posted one year.
Probably for good reason.
Every video is on the Gundie. No, all of those videos are on the Gundie Instagram. Every single
I'll go watch them.
Yeah,
Pretty sure that's not true, but
it is because I show them to people all the time. So I was really fortunate in having a co-host, Thea. Her Instagram handle is Van Letha, great shooter, great woman. So she was my co-host. So she was like literally my partner in crime on this. So we did every Jim and Dwight skit. We dressed up where he did the impersonation skit. We did everyone. So, that was really fun, but that also caused, I was a meme for a long time. It was, it was interesting, but it was okay. So fast forward to SHOT Show, we get there. We never even checked out the venue. So this is how like we weren't. I don't want to say
we didn't know what we were doing.
Senders, dude, I love it.
We had no clue. We had no clue we were walking into. No clue.
We rented out a restaurant called Nacho Daddy. They were awesome. They worked with us. They were really, really, really cool. They gave us the entire restaurant, but they only gave us 2 hours to set up for this event.
No, not barely. People were still eating while we're hanging banners.
And I'm like, well, where am I going to host it from? And they're like, well, we don't have a stage. I'm like, oh, that's a problem. So we rented like one of those child, like, it was a microphone with a little boombox.
Well, we rented a real speaker system. It didn't show up. That's what we got. We got basically the clown car version of a speaker system.
Oh, you got karaoke.
And that
exactly.
was our stage on a staircase. So we presented the awards on a staircase. And it's probably about a half hour before, people start showing up. And me and Ben look at each other. And I'm on a ladder hanging this last banner. And I'm like, are people going to show up? Like, we had that moment where we're like, wait a minute. Is anyone going to show up for this thing? And then 20 minutes later, who was the first guest that showed up?
Tim from Military Arms Channel was the first person that walked through the doors.
And then after Tim rolled in, I think I went to the bar to get a tequila shot. And I turned around. And there was just a line, Lamborghini, Kentucky Ballistic rented a Lamborghini. Jerry Michalak walked, and I'm like, holy shit.
It worked.
It's working.
Yeah.
And we had an amazing, amazing night. I mean, it was just like, it was wild. I remember it didn't get easier after that, but it was, it was an amazing night at that point. It was wild, man. It was wild. So that was the conception and the start of year one, and everything we did, we always wanted to do ourselves. And that whole mentality was this event was not created for us. This event was created for our industry.
Yeah.
This event was created for all the sponsors that supported it and wanted to be part of it. So whatever company came on, we wanted them to feel like this was their party too. There was no name that owns it. No one owns the Gundies. It is just we're just the company that has to deal with the stress and,
we're the proprietors of the stress.
Right. Put it together. And that's what I think really made it special and got it to year 6 because, we always took the feedback from not only the sponsors, but also the consumers, from the customers, or not customers, but from the audience.
The attendees, the voters, the influencers, everyone. Yeah.
Well, I'm saying also just from, people voting. So it was really, really special.
I see that. And Ben, I kind of want you to talk about this one. And cause I know Will's got his own opinions on this. So how do you feel about, first off, they look amazing, but how do you feel we could improve the, I guess the assembly line on these trophies?
So the short answer is take Will out of the equation. But if we're
so I think I don't know. Explain.
Yeah,
they're made with love.
I'm stealing a little bit of Will's thunder here because this is his project. But we make all the trophies by hand in house in our office. We learned how to make molds. We learned how to melt pewter down through many trial and error. We learned how to put arms onto the bodies to make them stay, which is still kind of a win-lose battle. And they each take, we calculated it out. About 40 hours per trophy, right? And we get asked all the time, like, hey, why not just go down to the trophy store and pick up like a glass one, or why not do, go on Amazon and buy 10 of the same thing? And I don't know. I don't know if there's a real answer outside of the people that we're representing in the community deserve something truly unique. And if we sure, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm so excited. I know. I'm trying to hold my tongue about
Get it out. Get it out.
It wouldn't. That to me is such a big, as Ben is saying, it's just so special. I don't think I'd ever change the trophies ever. Yeah. Because that really sets the tone and the dedication to the event. And I know it sounds insignificant, people outside in just going, oh, what the hell is a trophy? But it really just shows the dedication to the event. And not many people, we've made some videos showing the trophies. They don't really understand. At the end of the day, right, we're a marketing firm. We don't have a machine shop. I don't have, CNC machines. Everything has been trial and error. And what a lot of people don't know is I make it even harder on myself because I changed the design of the trophy. We'll change a gun. We'll put a different gun there, add headphones or add glasses to the trophy. Every time I do that, I have to remake the high temperature silicone mold and reform that, which that takes a very long time. So I'm changing it this year. I'm looking at the design right now. So it just
right now, you should have already had some ready, right?
I think Will's just a glutton for punishment.
He is. Yeah,
Will,
we both are.
But I think it's cool. I mean, like the Super Bowl trophies made by the same company every year. The Grammys, same company. Now I understand it's sourced out to a specific company, but like it's synonymous with, that award status. So I think it's really cool that it's almost like you're paying homage to the past. And it's like, hey, when you guys did your first Gundies and you're, shot in the dark, hope 50K covers this. You had to have awards that you could give people, whether they were present that night or we're going to ship them later. And it kind of stays true to that. And it puts that personal touch on it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, it's year one that we 3D printed them. And I think one or two made it out of that building alive. I heard stories of them getting sat on, getting crushed by TSA, whatever. Year two is when we started we wanted to do a real trophy. And up until this year, Will did them all. It would be, like he said, we're a marketing firm. We're not doing this during working hours. It was always like an after hours on the weekends type deal. And it's painstaking. Like no amount of footage is ever going to help clarify how much it sucks. I do want to give props to my brother though, who basically told, has taken up the charge on the trophies. Will did not want to let that one go, and I'm glad he was willing to pass the torch.
I just let him put the arms on. Hold on a minute. I still made every single.
I let him do the arms.
Yeah, I literally still made every trophy.
The arms are the hardest part.
Yeah, I let him deal with the arms. Yeah.
How many of those? Yeah. I mean, you don't have to count them or go too down the rabbit hole, but how many? What's your success ratio when you're making a trophy? If you're making 100 trophies to come out without any, I guess just like guns, blems, man. How many blems do we got to repair?
So
they're all unique. They're all unique.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah, and they're all.
But you get an arm fall off or a head fall off or something like.
So there's two stages where blems are going to come in. One is the initial casting. So the casting. That I've gotten down to a science pretty well. So at that point, if we're doing a run of, let's say for this year, there's going to be 18. So, well, there actually could be more because some categories let's just say there's a run of 20. It doesn't matter.
20.
We'd probably have additional 3 to 4 of remakes.
It's not bad.
Now, that's blem 1. Blem 2 is the attachment point. So soldering pewter is
explain how the arms are made separately.
Right. So the arms, so the mold is the body. The body is completely made in one single.
Can you just pick up the one next to you and just show us?
So this is the actual stage one. So this is all solid.
That's cool.
The bottom we did something different this year, but the head, the entire body itself is one cast, and then the arms are 2 separate casts. So what I have to do is, and it's pewter. So pewter is a very tough material to
fuse,
weld, essentially.
Yeah,
so no matter how much flux you use, it's a very difficult metal because essentially what happens is when you heat it up, the pewter around it will start melding before you can actually get the two metals to heat, bind.
Sure.
So what I do is I drill holes into the body and then I JB weld holes. I've tried that. I've done pins. I put pins through the body, through the hole, and then I have to fill them up with solder fill and then grind and then polish everything down. So there's a lot of different phases there. That's where things get real tricky. And then the polishing, grinding, getting everything ready. And then it goes into paint. We build a spray booth, base coat, primer, and then the gold, and then attach them to the bases.
Dude, that's...
And shipping.
And shipping.
Yeah, that's
we've had. So I'm gonna throw ourselves under the bus here. Yeah. we had to send out 2 years worth of trophies recently. We finally, life is busy. We finally got fully caught up. Everyone that's ever won a Gundy now has one. Um,
Yeah,
uh,
finally caught up
and we will have them done for this year
ahead of
before
time.
this year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
So
wow.
Oh, awesome.
yeah.
we've one of the things we've learned both as a company and with the Gundies, like Will's been saying, small team, small team. Now we have a team of 13 guys and gals that are phenomenal on the Forge side. And Gundies has always been very much a after hours project. This is the first year where we've built a team that's mostly dedicated to the Gundies itself, which has
Wow.
changed a lot of things. As business owners, I've had to learn how to delegate, which is, I think Will has too with these trophies. Delegation is probably one of the toughest things you're going to do as a business owner. It's also the only way you're ever going to scale. And I think the Gundies is the best example of that, because we had so many things that we've wanted to do that we're now actually executing on, because it's not just me and Will sitting in a room thinking about, oh, that'd be cool to do, and then forgetting about it.
Well, I think that both of you guys are cursed too with the creativity, because I think if you're anything like myself or these guys, yeah, you can hire a team to take care of, we'll just say 50% of the problems that you guys have to deal with, and also the planning and the executing and all that. Instead of saying, oh, cool, now I get 50% of my life back, you guys are probably dumb like us and say, hey, we can take on 50% more. And so now
Yeah.
Yeah.
you still have the same work stress load, but it's just on different stuff now.
Oh, 100%. And then you've got to teach everyone how to do it. I mean, the hardest part I've had to overcome is trusting that people will figure it out, and letting them learn or do it at a slower pace than I could do it. But, that's once again the only way you're ever going to scale. And you're right. You're going to be training. You're going to take on 50, if not 100% more projects now, because you think you have all this free time. And then if you're like me, you're going to pop out a kid, 4 months ago, and then you have time for nothing. So
Hell yeah.
It's how it goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
I love
think-
hearing about. Oh, go ahead, Matt.
I was gonna say I think the trophy though, like all the jokes aside and falling behind, like they're handmade. It's obviously a passion project, but those trophies are a great baseline, I think, for anybody who understands how they're made and why they're made, of the amount of dedication and passion that you guys do have for the Gundies as a whole, and very representative of that. I think they're cool.
Man, so,
thank you.
Thank
yeah,
you.
I was going to say,
Thanks a
so
lot.
looking at it, I want you guys to talk about it, but I'm scrolling down right now looking at all of the categories for this year. I'm going to read the repeat ones: video of the year, most entertaining content creator, most influential male of the year, best outdoorsman, breakout creator of the year, photo of the year, best shooter, most likely to survive the apocalypse, influencer of the year, top voice of the 2A, firearms instructor of the year, most innovative brand of the year, best gun reviewer, most dapper influencer, and most influential female of the year. You guys have added some categories this year, though.
More trophies to make, huh?
More trophies. It's the first time we've added categories in, I can't remember. I think
4
year
years.
2 we switched to 15. Yeah, so
Yeah, weird.
it's this balance, and we're adjusting voting too to be able to cater to the more categories. We're always reviewing the categories and trying to figure out what makes the most sense. It's also very, very difficult to showcase an entire community when we're limited to the categories, and limitation is how many categories is someone going to vote in every day. That part of the system might be shifting to alleviate some of that stress, but the categories we've had. This also might be the first year we're not going to be removing any categories or changing up existing categories. I'm pretty happy with the solidification that we have of fun, like most likely to survive the apocalypse, to like serious, top voices or influencer of the year, to your excuse me, don't even know my own categories. Most entertaining content creator right? Like I think we've got a decent gamut of
For sure.
creator or categories to cover most creators.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. But the three that you added this year, let's talk about the first one. I'll take the first one, and that's the easiest one, podcast of the year. So I
That was
see
pretty
that.
self-explanatory. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean,
that one made a lot of sense. It's time. It's a medium that we encourage brands to get onto and involved in. We almost did it last year. We didn't think to add a category. We're going to cut one, and we didn't want to cut one, but it's here now.
Yeah, I think podcast of the year is a great one, not just because we're podcasters, but honestly, with the route the social media is going and the mainstream media, I mean, it's hard to find shows on TV that showcase firearms. It's hard to find shows that showcase even just firearm safety or hunting or any of that stuff. I mean, they're there, but you usually have to pay an extra package or something. And with the way that all of the social media platforms are going, it's, we're limited. So podcasting, if you can get out of YouTube, we're on YouTube, but we're also on Spotify and all these others. If you can get to that, you have a little bit more freedom. It's harder to be found, but it's well worth it. I love that.
I'm excited. I'm excited to see Sean Ryan. He's going to win that one for sure.
Oh, for sure. For sure. He'll get my vote.
Yeah,
good show,
me too. But honestly, the next one, I have an idea what the category is, but explain this one, the King of the Hill.
Sure. We'll do this live on the podcast for some market research. I'd love for you to guess, or what do you think that is?
So first I thought, like, me being the alpha male, like, oh, who's the badass dude? But like, honestly, I think it's who's the top influencer, who's the king of the hill, who is the top influencer, not the most influential, but like the biggest influencer out there.
I think it's a category for the bigger guys, so it allows voice of the 2A. And I haven't been told this, but voice of the 2A has an opportunity to go to someone. You don't have to, no offense to anybody when I say this, you don't have to be a Jared. You don't have to be a Mike at Guns and Gear. You can be a, Phil from Kentucky. I don't know who that is, but like you could be that guy and still have a shot, to win and let the big boys. It's like the heavyweight division in boxing. Like that's where the big boys play.
Yeah, you nailed it. I got to give credit to John from GOA because he was actually like, "Hey, you got to do something to separate the little guys from the big guys." And back to that point of always listening to community feedback, right? Like we genuinely mean that. And one of the biggest pieces of feedback is as a smaller creator, a mid-tier creator, you just got there's no beating a Brandon, there's no beating these bigger guys, a Jared, right? They're always gonna be at the top. And like you touched on, for good reason. They do great work. But the Gundies, I'm going to go on a little bit of a tangent, is often seen as basically a Yellow Pages for brands, for people that like to consume content. Because of all the different restrictions on platforms, you often don't find or can't find someone. And we've gotten numerous emails of people saying, "Hey, I found XYZ from the Gundies," or I'm sure companies have done entire marketing plans by building a creator list off of what they're seeing in the categories. And this is just an extension of that, where we want to take those big guys, obviously showcase them, maybe even the playing field just a little bit, where they can compete against themselves. We're going to put all the big guys in there. I don't have a specific number of subscribers or view count or something in mind on how we're going to make that selection. The short answer is if you've been a winner or a repetitive winner, you'll probably be in that category. And they can duke it out, right? All the big guys can go at it, and we'll see what happens, which allows the other categories, the mid-tier creators, to actually have a real chance of winning. Because at the end of the day, that's our ultimate goal, is we want to showcase the creators of all sizes. We've had people question us like, well, why is that person with 5,000 followers in most entertaining creator or in, whatever category and there's a line that we do follow. There's a minimum size you have to be able to get into voting. But the point is so that people can find you and actually watch your content and consume it. And best case scenario, become a gun owner for the first time. So, that's kind of the mindset to that in that regard.
I love that because Adam, what were you saying? Matt at Demo Ranch was saying about the next big influencer. What was he saying?
So, Matt, so he was on the Unsubscribed podcast. Matt Kirker was, and he said this about this is what got me into social media. It was 2 years ago. He said right now the next big 2A influencer probably hasn't even started filming or doing anything in the 2A realm. He's like, there's going to be a shift, a paradigm, and you're going to see a lot of other people moving. And he's like, my guess is you're going to see in the next 2 years a lot more newer faces. And that was kind of my motivation. Like, that was cool to hear him say that.
Well, I think
And we're seeing it.
Yeah,
We're
I think
seeing
it's true because everybody loves Hickok 45, and he's still around. But, he's getting a little longer in the tooth. He's kind of stepping away. Now he's still there, but his son's taking over, and it's who's going to fill that void. One day, Jared is going to stop. Guns and Gear is going to stop or slow down, and somebody has to come in there if they want it. If you want it.
I'll stop you before you get to the next category because that one's actually not going to be in the running.
Good.
That one. There's a shift happening, and we put a poll. We put a poll out. Well, not really a poll. We made a post asking people what category they'd want to see this year. Right, kind of once again taking it back to the people. And I think Adam actually nailed this one. This one is not set in stone. So, Will, do we want to make a decision on the podcast on what's going to be the next category?
I mean, I think we can say it. Yeah.
So, Adam, I believe you commented something along the lines of like best up and coming brand or something to that regard. That definitely hit it. There were some fun categories people mentioned, but I think that's probably the category we're going to add. We don't know how we're going to describe it or what we're going to call it, but it will probably be like, new up and coming brand or best up and coming brand, something to showcase the smaller brands on the block. We've got most innovative, which has always been a showstopper. People, there's a couple brands that always push that really hard and do well. But we want to, once again, just like with the creators, we want to be able to showcase these smaller companies that are hustling. There's a couple off the top of my head that come to mind that do great content themselves. They make phenomenal products. They're crushing it on the customer service, but they don't have a 100,000 email list or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Now we just got to figure out how to word it properly, lay it out, and unfortunately, we have like 8 hours to do that.
Roughly.
I'm sick.
Yeah. So we're gonna.
I was gonna say I almost commented on that, and I was like, I want to go devil's advocate. We've got most likely to survive the apocalypse. I wanted to flip it and say who dies first. And I would love to see who votes just to get
who dies first.
Who goes first?
Who goes first?
Oh man, that would just cause a big argument.
There was some wild comments. There were some wild comments on that post for sure.
Yeah, it got people talking.
It did. Well, that's awesome. I'm excited to hear that. I think that's going to be a great ad. But yeah, the name is going to be the hard part right now, huh?
Yeah, it always is. We'll figure it out. We have a meeting after we get off with you guys to lock it down.
Well, I was going to say, boys, this one's going to drop on October 9th. So by that time, the nominations will have been out. I don't know if nominations will be over yet and regular voting starts. I don't know. Y'all are working that out. But, man, take the time right now before we close out to tell everybody where they can find you guys, Forge Relations, also the Gundies, and if there's any other announcements you guys want to make, man, it's yours. Oh, wait.
There's a tradition.
More.
There's a tradition.
All right. Before we do that, real quick, from each of you, we'll go. Ben can go first. A whiskey and windage tradition. We want the top 5. NFA doesn't matter. Cost of ammo. It doesn't have to be something you own. Maybe it's something you want to own. But you get 5 guns for the rest of your life. What are you taking, Ben?
Oh boy. Glock 19. Been carrying it. That was my first pistol ever. That's a given.
Nice and practical.
Are we like how detailed are we getting? Because like AR-15, right? Like I gotta have.
No,
you can be as broad or as specific as you want.
Okay. I mean, I'm a huge fan of my Radian weapons. I think it's called the Model 1 or something like that. It's the rifle. I've had that forever. That's my truck gun. Dude, I mean, previous Gundies, we shot a minigun. There's nothing like that minigun. Yeah, that's an easy one, right? But like that's just that was an experience. I don't know if this counts as a gun, but like a tank. Like now I'm really
That works.
stretching, right? Like a
Hey,
tank.
that
I love
works.
it. I
Hey,
love it.
Tank.
no NFA,
Sure.
no cost of
We
ammo,
we
anything.
almost bought like a little British one that has rubber treads, so you could go through like the McDonald's drive-through. You know,
That
they're
would
only
have
like
been
Yeah.
they're only like 60 grand. We almost
They're
did
not
it.
too bad.
only.
No, yeah, only. I mean, you can get a Chevy for more than that nowadays, right?
Hey, this could have came in handy though with all this rain you guys have been getting.
No kidding, no kidding. And then the last one, oh God, I don't know. Will, why don't you go? I'll come back to me. I gotta. I want it to be good. It's gotta be a good one.
Can't work. Doesn't work like that. You got to
No, I
finish
get
out.
it.
You
You
gotta
got
Okay,
finish.
you
okay.
got one left, Ben.
Probably like Hitler's buzzsaw. You know that's a fun one.
Oh man, that's pretty cool.
The MG,
Yeah.
dude.
MG, yeah, MG 42 is something crazy.
All right, so
So
Ben
you're the
hates
first
long
one to name
distance
a mini.
and shotguns.
Now,
Yeah,
Ben doesn't
And
hate long
AKs.
distance because Ben's just going to hit you with a tank.
I mean,
true.
I don't like I do not like shotguns. I mean, the Reaper holds a close place in our heart. Ohio Ordnance Reaper, since we did the launch video on that. But
I can't believe out of everybody we asked, he's the first one to choose a minigun and a tank.
no one said minigun. I thought I was being
No one
like
has.
We've had
lame
some
with
raw
that one.
deuces. We've had MP5. We've had
We've
MG42.
heard the
but
MG42 before.
we haven't heard a tank and we haven't heard a minigun.
All right, Will, what you got for me, brother?
Okay. So wait, here's my question though: is this a practical standpoint? So 5 guns for the rest of my life?
Too much thinking. Too much thinking.
Yeah.
Just go.
Survival-
Yeah,
survival
like no, just
situation?
the way you're living now. If there's civil
way
unrest,
you're living now.
you need it.
The way I'm living right
If,
now.
if
Okay.
you're gonna hunt, you need it. If
Yeah.
you just want to go shoot,
Okay.
whatever.
So definitely, I'm a big shot. I love my shotguns. I'm definitely going to Mossberg, going to 500 pump because it's going to be the most reliable. I don't have to worry about
Classic.
it. Yeah.
Classic.
I want something heavy, so I'm going to go with the classic M14 308. Yeah. With that, well, you know, a chassis. I can't remember the name of the chassis, but there's a special chassis on it.
I know what
The
you're talking
special, the special chassis.
No, you know, a
Special
chassis.
one.
Like the Angel.
I mean,
can't
the
remember.
one we have in the safe.
Yeah,
That
the
you
one
can't.
that's-
Yeah.
I would go with any mil spec SPR AR. It doesn't have to get. I don't have to really get too specific
Nope.
there. But
Nope,
totally
you can change the
decked
upper.
out.
That's fine.
Yeah, OGL, and it's going to include nods. Every full day night capable. I do love it. It's impractical, but I'm going to have to keep it in there just for some distance. We'll go with the Barrett.
Yeah.
Reach out and touch something.
Yeah, and now I'm screwed because now I'm on 5 and I don't have a pistol in there yet, but I really want to include a 22, but I'm not. So we'll scratch that, and let's go with. That's a fun one. You know what? I'll be a
The
little
last
different.
one's always a struggle.
Let's kind of like double dip. Let's go to Glock 34. So long slide.
Ooh, Glockzilla.
I still can conceal it, but I have some distance on it.
Yes.
Heck yeah,
Man,
solid choices.
are great. Those are great choices. So now we are to the part where you guys can plug Forge Relations and plug the Gundies and all that. And this is your chance to announce anything you guys want to say. The platform's yours.
Well, so Forge, you can find us on all social media platforms, Forge Relations, websites forgerelations.com, and of course, all social platforms. And then Gundies, Ben, take it away.
So the Gundies, to answer your question, voting starts December 1st. It runs through the 15th. Nominations open October 1st. So by the time you guys are seeing this, it's open for roughly 3 more weeks. It ends on the last day of October. That gives us just enough time to get everything sorted before voting starts. And then the award ceremony, you can watch it on January 20th. And you can find the Gundies at Gundie Awards on Instagram, thegundies.com, and really anywhere on social media. Just look up the Gundies.
And one more thing I will say, just a little plug. If any companies out there are listening, we do have a couple spots left. So if anyone wants to be part of the Gundies this year, just reach out. We'd love to explain it a little bit more on the sponsorship side, but we have some pretty cool marketing opportunities for it this year.
Vegas is expensive, guys. Help us out.
Yes,
Yep.
it is.
Yes, it is.
All right. We want to thank you guys for tapping in and watching this episode with Forge Relations. We really want to thank Ben and Will for taking the time to stop by, talk about Forge Relations, a little bit about what they do as a whole, and also taking the time to tell everybody about the Gundies that are coming up. So if you're still listening, make sure to get over to the website, the Gundies, nominate your favorite creators, and come December, make sure to go back and vote for your favorite creators. Mike, what do you think?
Man, I think you hit it on the head. Definitely go check out the GundieAwards.com. If there's still time, go in there and vote for your favorite people in each category. It takes about 5 minutes to put your vote in for everything. And these guys are out there working, these influencers are working their tails off. These manufacturers are, and it's just nice to get a little bit of accolade for the work they're doing, whether or not they win. So please go support those guys.
Adam, what do you think?
I'm excited for the new categories, especially finding out that there's a twist and one of the categories is now getting modified. Kind of excited for that. So that was fun to hear. And guys, I'm just excited for the 2A, man. I'm excited to be part of this entity that we are in, and I'm excited to see the Gundies trying to get more creators, more businesses names out there. So I appreciate what they do.
Yeah, big round of applause for those guys. Well, if you guys have made it this far, don't forget to go over to whiskeyandwindage.com, get you some merch. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. We'll catch you next week.